should I shoot him now?
Why not? Wait for him to drop onto the ground.
Okay. Stand by.
Elephant hunting was something that I really never thought would happen in my life. So for this to manifest was just an incredible opportunity that I'm still forever grateful for. And again, I'm still an 18-year-old me that looks in on this stuff from the outside, and yeah, it's incredible to have been able to do that. And yeah, well above the bucket list at this point in time.
Now, you got your buffalo in the salt. That safari's in the rearview mirror, but you spent 10 days with Mark Bellaro, and although Mark is a competent professional hunter and hunting elephant, buffalo, croc, hippo, all the stuff over there, but Mark is known as a leopard man.
Yeah, 100%.
You and Mark started talking about a leopard hunt, and
yeah,
a couple of years later, we put that together.
Yeah, and another awesome trip to Zimbabwe. The trip started off with the bush plane flight, and so Jim Bequette was with us, and Dozer, I forget his real name, but he flew the bush plane. And there was a cloud bank that was covering Nuanetse, so he couldn't quite see the landing strip. Now there's a huge radio tower or antenna that sticks up over there. So he's flying in, and this bank of clouds is covering the landing strip. And if we didn't land there, we were going to have to go somewhere else and land and wait for the clouds to pass by. But he did a circle, and he saw like a little gap in the clouds, and he saw the landing strip. So he decided, all right, I'll circle back, and if I see that thing again, we're gonna land. And man, he saw it, and he cut the fuel joystick down. I don't know how many feet of elevation we lost, but it was pretty quick. And then fuel back on, stick back up, and we landed. We got our money's worth on that flight in. And Jim's eyes were about as big as dinner plates, quite frankly. So yeah, it all started with that adventure.
There's a place I always used to use for my flyouts hunting in Alaska, and they had a big sign above. When you walk out toward the plane, you got to walk under this sign, and I always got a kick out of it. And it's just as true for Africa as it is Alaska. It says, the definition of an optimist, a bush pilot that thinks he'll die of cancer.
Yeah, probably true.
And I've been in a few of those Africa deals too that you think, I'm glad I just get out and kiss the ground. But so you get into Nuanetse. Now Nuanetse is obviously it's a massive concession. Used to be old cattle country, and and now it's dedicated to game, like all those big conservancies down in the low veld are, and they're known for their really, really big cats, but very smart cats, because out in that country, for generations, those leopards were persecuted by ranchers, just like coyotes are in West Texas. They're shot on sight. They vermin. But thankfully that's over. So you get in there and walk through when he said, okay, Neil, here's how we're going to set this hunt out. We're going to start the baiting. How many baits did you initially put up?
That's a good question. I remember we were driving was it 100 miles per day, something like that? I mean, we were putting on the miles going to different bait sites, and every one of them started having cats on there. And but yeah, it's arduous. So they would have a bucket with the guts and goo in there that they would use. And again, you're learning all this stuff as you're going. I mean, I'm obviously not some expert cat hunter by any stretch of the imagination, but you're learning how it's all done. And it was just so fascinating. you get to watch these the baits get hung with wire and all this stuff, and then taking that gut bucket and sloshing stuff all over the tree, and then trailing it out from the bait site, and then having the truck pull a big, basically gut bag, if you will, and just pull it behind the truck so that you're making trails on the blood trails on the roads and things like that to try to attract these leopards. So it was an interesting experience in every stretch of the imagination. It was fascinating to see how it was done, but just long days driving, checking stuff, and then and you're seeing the signs of these ghosts, and you never see one until you're actually set up to get a shot at some point.
You did what, of course, every hunter that comes into camp does. You check your rifles. Now, walk me through your original and then eventual shooting battery and bullet selection was, for your leopard.
So I took a 375 Ruger and a 300 RCM, so both Ruger rifles. And the goal with the RCM was obviously for bait and plains game and things like that. And then the 375 Ruger was for other animals that we might have encountered. But I intended to shoot the leopard with the 300 RCM at the time. I don't remember exactly. I believe it was a 165 grain SST, probably Superformance. I wanted something that was somewhat volatile, just to overwhelm the cat, right? So the SST at those velocities, particularly at the ranges you're going to shoot a leopard, is, it's fast, and your bullet is going to come apart really quickly, and you're going to just overcome his entire system with something like that. So we were shooting bait, and the shots at the bait were not that far, and I was not hitting them where I needed to. You get off the plane, you check your zeros, you do all that stuff, and everything was fine. But along the way, things get jostled and bounced around, and I was not hitting the bait right. So finally, we had a cat that was coming to bait, and we were going to go and shoot that night. And I just did not feel confident about this. And Mark which is unbelievable to me, he has had people come there and they shoot, because they're kind of testing you out when you're shooting the bait. They want to see how you can shoot. And the shot for the cat is really prescribed. It's locked in place, if you will. Everything is very stable. They know pretty much exactly where that cat's going to be, so you're almost in a bench rest position. But I didn't feel comfortable. And he'd had people before this that just didn't shoot well, or maybe the gun wasn't on. And now you're in the bush, in the dark, and there's a 4-legged chainsaw out there that is ready to come and jump on every single person in the hunting party. And like you said, they're extremely dangerous. They might not kill you with one bite or something like this, but you can get septic. They can rip you apart. And I didn't want to be the guy that put us in any kind of situation like that. So we went to the range, shot that 300 RCM, and it was just not hitting where I needed to. I'd make a sight adjustment, and it would go opposite direction or something else. It was just not consistent. But I had that 375 with 250 grain GMXs at the time, and boy, it was spot on. So it wasn't what I intended to use, which obviously 375 is plenty on any cat, quite frankly. Sure. But I wanted something else that was going to be more volatile. So switched to the 375, which was money. Turns out later on, one of the ring screws had worked its way loose. We just didn't have time to be playing with all that stuff and messing with it. So I just went to the other gun.
Okay. Well, and just a tiny little bit more, but when somebody comes to you this year at the SEI show and says, Neil, hey, I saw the podcast with Dave and stuff. Y'all were talking about leopard. I'm doing a leopard hunt. What is the perfect leopard bullet?
The shots are going to be pretty, 100 yards and in typically. So you want something that's going to overwhelm a system. I know a lot of people shoot mountain lions with pretty, smaller cartridges than somebody's typically going to take to Africa for a leopard hunt. And if you're taking a one gun battery, a 375 is going to be great. Depending on what, the CX now would be fine. The CX is going to retain a lot of weight, so it's definitely going to punch through the backside of a leopard. But in my very limited and humble opinion, I would want something more volatile. I should think that a 30-06 with an SST would still be a great choice. Something like that would be fantastic. Or even an ELDX would be perfectly fine for a leopard. I don't think you need anything too too heavy duty, quite frankly, for a leopard. I think you want something that's going to go in there, shed a lot of weight, and just destroy his internal organs as fast as possible. I'm not worried about what's going to happen on the other side, because that bullet isn't going to tear a big exit hole in him. It'll have an exit, but it won't be a huge hole like you would with, like, I mean, people would be concerned about shooting some kind of a varmint bullet or something like that. That might cause a mess. But either an SST or ELDX would be the way I would go if I had to do it again.
Agree with everything you just said, and that's the exact speech I give to people. In fact, two of the bullets that I've recommended to people, this is the load you probably want to shoot. Now, eventually, you're running your trot line, your bait line. You had said you had multiple cats hitting. I'm assuming some of those are younger males, some of those are females. But eventually, you came to one of your bait setups. Valaro walks in there as he does and puts his hands on his hip and says, we've found our boy. Yeah,
which, interestingly enough, Dave, is right where you shot your cat, I think, the year before. So it's the same bait tree, and even the same, we set up in a tree they set up a scaffold up there with pallets and all sorts of things, so we'd have basically a blind, elevated blind, which is unique, which was unique too, because they needed to be high because there were some elephants in the area, I guess, and we needed to be up high so we didn't have problems with them, obviously. Otherwise, it'd have been on the ground, I suppose.
Well, I was a little bit concerned not concerned is not the right word, aggravated probably, pissed off. I don't know. I'd went back to the camp and I found an old private property, no hunting sign, and I drove back there and hammered that into the Fulson tree. And obviously, you glossed right over that and climbed up in my damn tree and got ready to shoot a leopard. But no, in fact,
just like every hunt down there, I wasn't in control of anything.
Blame that on Valaro. Well, look, you're exactly right. I had shot a monster cat out of that same setup the year before. So you guys did the same. Mark built the Michon, and that's quite a process to put a 3-person, the PH, the hunter, and a cameraman all up in the tree. That's not an easy process.
Yeah, not at all. And look, the guys work really hard. They put that thing up there, and it was first rate. They tested it for stability and everything like that. They obviously want to make sure everything's safe before you climb up there. But it certainly wasn't how I expected it to go, because all the lessons I had seen from before was, a ground blind, bait high up in a tree, all that type of stuff. In this case, it wasn't going to be like that. So it was just different.
Now, there's an important point I want to make here, because some people have hunted in government, regulated government safari areas or concessions, and the rule there is that you cannot shoot, any game, but especially cats, under any other conditions other than natural light. So you've got to be able to, have enough natural light. You can't use any kind of artificial lights, and they may see this hunt and say, well, wait, they're using a light. Well, in private ground, which New Netsea is privately owned, concession, conservatory, it is allowed to use artificial light. And so that really ups your chance for taking a leopard, because, leopards are nocturnal animals. I mean, it's the great chess game. You're trying to get an animal to get on a piece of meat he didn't kill and get him there in an area exactly where you want him at a time of your choosing and in a position of your choosing. So you got your setup. There's a big cat. I know he was on trail cam and all that. I'm assuming you'd seen pictures of the cat.
Yeah, sure. I had seen pictures. I mean, one cat to me looked like the other cat, right? So I'm relying on Mark to guide this whole process, but this is the one he wanted to go after.
You're looking back at the camera.
What time did you get up into the blind?
We were there a long time. So, pre-dark, and then eventually the cat showed up. But yeah, it was a long time. And I remember making sure, like, you're not going to be able to pee. You can't make any noise. It was like I went in there dehydrated, and it was cold. It was quite cold. So yeah, it I don't know exactly what time everything took place, but it took a while, obviously.
Well, but obviously at some point he came in.
Yeah, and boy, to this day I will never forget my heart just beating, like not necessarily fast, but just huge. Like I felt like anybody up there could probably feel it or hear it. telling you, that was an overwhelming sensation.
Okay.
Can you see him, Murad?
Yeah. Okay, should I shoot him now?
No. Wait for him to drop onto the ground.
Okay. Stand by.
Yeah, and Mark had said if you shoot him just behind the shoulder, he'll go about 200 yards and die. And if you shoot him like in the point of the shoulder, they'll die right there. Like, well, that's where we're shooting him. And shot him one shot with that 250 GMX. He kind of slumped down, and then I think he just kind of rolled over, and that was the end. Thank God.
But you just absolutely flatten that thing. And so you walk up to your leopard, man, what's that feeling like?
Pretty incredible. I'm still kind of nervous, but now look, headlamps on, this is it, right? So it was dead. There was no question about that. But yeah, it's an overwhelming thing because, like I said, you're hunting ghosts for a long time. You don't see these things until the moment of truth. And it was just, here we go. This is a real leopard in flesh and blood sitting there. Because you hadn't seen one until that point.
Great shooting, sir. Well done.
Thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate it.
Congrats on that. So now you killed your buffalo. You've killed the smallest member of Africa's Big Five, Dangerous Seven, however you want to categorize them. So now you turn your attention to Africa's biggest prize, bull elephant. That is, to a lot of people, say that's the most iconic sporting challenge in all of Africa is hunting bull elephant. So now we're back to the Zambezi Valley a couple of years later, and you're going to tackle elephant. So let's just start with caliber and bullet choice that you went with.
Well, this was a late notification cancellation hunt that just fell from the sky. Again, ultimately so fortunate. I can't believe it, honestly. And I didn't have time to get a gun permit for some Zimbabwe. So I had to use a camp gun, and there were 375 Rugers that were in camp, which I arguably not the cartridge or combination that most people would think of for elephant hunting, but that's what we were going to use. Because when I got there, I started off hunting with Andrew Dawson, and he presented me with two opportunities at that point in time. He had 375 Ruger with DGS bullets, dangerous game solid bullets, or a double gun, but the double gun he had Woodley bullets or something like this. And this, no, we're shooting the Ruger. So first thing we did was take the scope off the gun and do some training with iron sights, and everything was jovial. I remember talking to Andrew quite a bit. The way the hunt would work was I was supposed to hunt with Len Taylor, but he was on another hunt, and so Andrew had to kick off the first couple of days. And everything was jovial until Andrew started talking about shot placement and what happens when that elephant puts his head down. And I remember the mood going from a bit of levity to real serious conversation about once they put their head down, there's a pan in the top of their head, and that's where you put the bullet. And it got real serious at that point in time. So we looked at skulls, tried to envision that imaginary broomstick or what have you that goes through the middle of their ears where the brain would be, and was preparing for that kind of shot placement. And from there, we started hunting the next day, and it was long days, 20 something miles maybe per day, a lot of walking and a lot of encounters.
You're in my favorite elephant area in the valley, Sapi, which happens to border Monopools National Park, right, hard on the banks of the Zambezi River. Now, Sapi, I mean, I've hunted, filmed a lot of elephants in there. I shot my best elephant, in Sapi, and it's a special place. And with that border with the national park, you never know big bulls, they're wanderers. They come in, they live this month in the park, they go on a walkabout, and they may be 30 miles away from it, in 4 days. So you never know. But yeah, I do remember that Andrew was gonna start that hunt off, because we wanted you to hunt. I mean, look, Andrew, plenty good on elephant, but Lynn Taylor is Tom Brady of elephant hunting. I mean, he really is. I mean, and he's one of the greatest elephant hunters in Africa, and recognized by other elephant hunters in the very top of that category.
So, and that's part of the amazing thing about, again, being presented with these phenomenal opportunities to do some of these trips. But all credit goes to the PHs in all these situations. We're along for the ride. But they spend their life out there doing these things. But when you're with these guys that really kind of specialize and have some favorite things to do, like Mark Valaro with leopard, and how passionate he is about that, and then ultimately to spend time with Len Taylor, who, if given his druthers, would chase elephants every single day of his life. That's a pretty special experience. And to walk alongside these giants of the bushveld is pretty incredible, because they are a wealth of knowledge, and you learn a lot from them.
So you started your hunt with Andrew, and so kind of walk me through those, the first few days. Elephant hunting kind of falls into a rhythm, a pattern. So walk me through that.
Yeah, it all starts with, again, a truck ride somewhere, and then trying to pick up tracks. And, some of it escapes me, but you're looking for a certain size of track to indicate that it's a potentially mature bull. And it is a tracking safari, and you get to watch what the trackers are capable of. And it was incredible to watch every single day. There'd be a couple of bulls or whatever that would be walking somewhere, and then they'd eventually get into, are they Malala palms? Is that what they're called?
The big, tall Malala palms, exactly.
Yeah, and then they're in an area like that, and then to then go from where they congregate with some other elephant or something like this, or a bunch of other elephant have been in there. Now the tracks are kind of all intermixed with a bunch of other elephants, and then to go out from there and kind of spiderweb around, looking to see where this one particular bull would go, and how they're identifying just a certain characteristic in their track, and that's the one that they're tracking. And to see, like, he drags his right foot or something like this, or he's got a little this crack or crevice in his footprint or something like that. To see them track that is just incredible. And you're walking, and you're paying attention to what they're doing, but it's game on all the time. And then to learn some of the mannerisms of the elephant. Basically, they poop about every 45 minutes or something like this. So, you're trying to see how fresh that spoor is, to see, okay, they've been through here recently. Is this an older spoor? And then seeing what they do, they just knock down trees and break stuff as they walk through everywhere. Again, the trackers are reading this stuff like you and I do Google Maps, and it's incredible to watch them do their stuff.
Well, I tell people, elephant hunting is a numbers game. The better shape you are in, and it's a physical hunt, a very physical hunt. You're going to walk. The more tracks you follow, the more bulls you see. The more bulls you see, the better your chance to find the bull that you're actually looking for. So eventually Andrew rotates out. The boss Lynn gets here, and Lynn rolls in, and pretty much the same. You're looking for tracks and stuff, and then if you're lucky, you find a good elephant. If you're really lucky, you find a great elephant, and you guys found a great elephant.
Yeah, and at first, Len thought it was a cow because it just was so long. Exactly how big it was, I guess we'll never know. But we tried to get in position on this elephant, and ultimately it heard us or smelled us or something. And then if this sequence plays out, I'd never thought in my life I'd be running around trying to chase elephants in my life. But yeah, here we are running through the bush, and it was a sprint. And all the while you're trying to make sure, okay, let's not point this gun barrel at Len, all these types of things as you're going through the brush, is, with reckless abandon. But yeah, it was crazy. what I would tell people is that it's this, you know, elation, and then there's a letdown, because you know you're tracking, you're tired, and then you'll come upon these elephants and it's not old enough, it's too small, it's this, that, or the other thing. So you go through the, like I say, a roller coaster of emotions, quite frankly, because you're ready for a fight, if you will, and then okay, we're not engaging. So it's just up and down, up and down, up and down as you have all these encounters along the way. I'm not going to say there was despair, but you start to wonder, like, oh, is this going to happen? You know, is this going to be real? And you know, the other thing I would tell you too, I mean, elephant hunting is it's like a spiritual experience. It's not something to take lightly. It's a big deal. For everybody that's done this before, you form a bond with these guys out there. You become a team with them. For the time that you're hunting with them, they do it every single day, but for that period of time, you form a bond and you form a team. And yeah, it was just disappointing for the team that we didn't get into. There just never was a shot available, and you feel bad for not yourself necessarily, but just for the team and for Len, because that's a big achievement for him in his career. So yeah, you're the guy with the license, but at the end of the day, you just kind of feel like, dang it, you know, we didn't win this one. Well, and it was disappointing.
As I recall, Lynn said, look, we've walked about 20K. So 20K away from the truck means 20K back to the truck. And you don't want to make that walk in the dark. So you guys, I imagine it was a fairly dejected, you know, semi-disappointed group of elephant hunters, from the trackers to Lynn to, of course, yourself. And y'all are, you know, but you swallow it, and that's what you do. Elephant hunting, that can be elephant hunting. And, you know, Africa can take, but Africa can also give. So you guys are headed back to camp. Day's pretty much done. And then?
Yeah, one of the trackers sees a bull, and boom. Then we head in.
Okay, there's a bull right out here. He just started rustling all these this bush over here, so let's go see what we got. Amazing. I tell you what, we have been through a roller coaster of emotions over the last 7 days. And this elephant hunting, this is not necessarily the end right here. We got to get him out, but I'm telling you what, this is the experience of a lifetime.
Yeah, and that's just how fast things can happen, you know. And, you know, the whole frontal brain shot that you kind of prepare for, ultimately the heart-lung shot is more of a guarantee. So that's what we did.
And that's a bull nobody in their right mind is going to pass in the Zambezi Valley, regardless of what you've seen that day. And brother, you could not have handled your first elephant any better, Neil. You really couldn't have, because you didn't have time to think about it. I mean, that happened fast.
Yeah, it was really quick, and tremendous. The next day, you come back in and you get the elephant out of there, and that's a whole other interesting experience. But I remember seeing that one of those 375 Dangerous Game solid bullets had completely broken his hind leg. So that was pretty amazing to see that kind of performance from the 375.
And boy, if that's not testament to bullet performance, the back leg bone of an elephant is very, very dense, and it's about this big around. And there you are, man. I mean, does it get any better in Africa than that, buddy?
No, and like I said, it's a spiritual experience. These are higher functioning animals, and it takes a lot of work to be able to hunt them. Something I never thought I would have the opportunity to do in my life, to be perfectly honest with you. So to have been able to do that was just literally incredible. And you got to just go there and enjoy the ride. It's you're in a very romantic, storied place when you're over there, and you just got to soak it all in and just enjoy the ride, enjoy the people, enjoy the culture you're exposed to, enjoy the location, and eventually things will manifest, obviously, but just enjoy the ride.
I always tell people, when I want to know something about some little scuttlebutt that's going on, I call Neil Davies, because there's nobody that I know that is more connected and knows more people and is held in the high regard that you are in an entire industry, Neil. You, brother, are not only one of our favorite guys, but you are truly one of our industry's best ambassadors. And brother, we are the richer for being able to call Neil Davies our brother and our hunting buddy and our business partner. So, man, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you making the time for us today. I've enjoyed it, just sitting back and listening to it and just thinking back on those memories, and really appreciate you being with us today.
Well, thanks, Dave. That's a lot of high praise, and I certainly appreciate that. The company is going to keep moving forward with product advancements and product introductions, and we're always going to try to refine things from customer comments and from our own experiences. And then, me personally in my career, it's fun to be in a place now where I try to enable all sorts of other people within the company to go out there and have these experiences for themselves, to test our products. I've been very fortunate, and it's been fun to try to enable that for other people. And I'm certainly in that place now where I get a lot of enjoyment out of seeing my colleagues go over there and do some of this stuff themselves. I get a great sense of joy watching them achieve these things in their hunting careers too. But we appreciate everything you guys have done for us over the years, and we look forward to many more. Thank you.
Very same thing, brother. I will see you soon, and certainly going to be seeing you at the shows. Appreciate you, Neil.
Thank you.
Nothing makes us feel better than when somebody comes up and says, man, I've been watching y'all for years. I just love what you do. And whether they're talking about Tracks Across Africa, Hornady's Dark and Dangerous, or the new series you're watching here, Safari Classics TV, I always try to tell people, we can never do what we do without our sponsors. And Hornady has been with us since day one, and we are so appreciative. One of the great things about our job here is, not just the places we go and where we hunt, it's the people that you get to know and the people you meet and the people that become friends. And that describes every person at Hornady Manufacturing. So thanks, guys. We couldn't do it without you. Now, if you enjoy this kind of programming, do me a favor. Do me two favors. Hit like, then hit subscribe. And that way, we're growing our numbers, and we'll keep bringing this adventure to you every week. And until then, we'll see you right here on Safari Classics TV.